Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the exjw breaking news. I'm your host, Ruby Quinn, and let's get into the new updates of this Montana case. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video of this court case involving Caekaert versus Watchtower in Montana. I will include a link at the top of this video so you can pause and watch those updates. As of yesterday, May 14th, 2024, new updates have been shared with us via Twitter, and you could also look up these documents on the internet in their websites. I am going to be reading these tweets from JB on Twitter. Their @ is at Miss_USATO. And I'm also going to be reading the remarks of Mark O'Donnell. In the first tweet regarding the update in Montana, JB tweets read, "In current motions for sanctions against Watchtower regarding the Montana case, Caekaert versus Watchtower, more facts were established. Other than the deliberate choices of Watchtower New York to continuously, as stated in previous documents, be uncooperative, unclear, and withhold information." And if you do remember my other video, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. You will see that Watchtower has even been proven to spoil documents. They are unwilling to provide the documentation that is needed for this court case. And I provided the screenshots. I put a link there, and I will also put another link in this description. This proves how Watchtower, time and again, are not being truthful when it comes to these lawsuits. Second tweet from JB reads, "About the role of the U.S. branch in the org during the relevant time period of this case. The lack of transparency has caused confusion on the actions and responsibilities of the U.S. branch. The courts have determined that the org violated its obligation to provide information. This information includes how Watchtower New York refused to provide information about how the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses used corporate defendants. The governing body used hierarchical organizations and corporate entities, such as the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania, to carry and direct their work out globally. The Watchtower Branch Society of New York and International Bible Students Association are also mentioned as legal entities used by Jehovah's Witnesses. Policies and procedures for investigating allegations of serious sin include CSA, were established by the governing body and communicated to local congregations through Watchtower New York and Watchtower Pennsylvania." So this is what Watchtower is doing. They are being unnecessarily confusing when it comes to all of these entities and the naming and which department does what, which entity does what. And so that's what the court is demanding them to revise the language, because they always want to be using Watchtower New York, Watchtower PA, or the Branch Society as three different entities. Watchtower is playing a really dirty game. It's very suspicious, and it's just so unnecessary. But this is why Watchtower is doing it. They have something to hide, and they don't want to tell the truth. Okay, so moving on to Mark O'Donnell's tweets. Mark O'Donnell always relays this information the best way possible, and I'm going to read his tweet directly. Mark says, "Montana Federal Court Judge Susan Watters has issued yet another ruling against the Jehovah's Witnesses. As two crucial child abuse cases grow closer to their summer trial dates, Judge Watters has responded to the plaintiff's motion for sanctions by issuing her second order against the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. Watchtower New York, a co-defendant in the two civil cases, has refused to provide clear and informative answers to several interrogatories, including number 15, which asks, quote, 'Please set forth your description of the relationships between the following: governing body, Watchtower, Pennsylvania, Watchtower, New York, United States branch office, United States district offices, United States circuit offices, and local kingdom halls/congregations, including whether any of these bodies oversee or direct in any way the activities of any other of these bodies. Previously, quote, the court found in part that Watchtower New York's initial answers to interrogatories 9 and 15 were vague to the point of non-responsive, and ordered Watchtower New York to fully and completely respond. The court awarded plaintiffs $22,631.80 in attorney fees and costs, in part because of Watchtower New York's failure to adequately respond to interrogatories 9 and 15. Now, as we draw closer to the trial, sanctions against Jehovah's Witnesses are taking the form of instructions the jury will receive about the relationships between the governing body, the U.S. branch office, as well as the defendants, Watchtower New York and Watchtower of Pennsylvania. These relationships are critical to this case and others in establishing where the responsibility lies for the policies of Jehovah's Witnesses, especially concerning the handling of allegations of child abuse, as the plaintiffs explained in their motion for sanctions. Quote, defendant's goal is to keep this information opaque as possible so the courts and the jury will be confused about the structure of the organization and the role played by the corporate entities. Indeed, if defendants can keep the full extent of their relationship with non-corporate entities secrets, they can argue the acts and omissions give rise to liability should be attributed to non-parties. In furtherance of this strategy, Watchtower New York has refused to be forthcoming with discoverable information about the organization's operational structure and how the organization used the corporate defendants to accomplish its mission. Additional details may be found by downloading and reading the court ruling, as well as the underlying motions and arguments for this case. Trials are currently scheduled for August and September 2024. Once again, we see Watchtower always trying to hide its behind on who is responsible in keeping records and keeping the data and keeping the information when it comes to anything, especially CSA issues. Whenever these things come to court, this is the game that they're going to be playing. How much does this game cost? A lot of money. The previous documents, they spent thousands of dollars for not providing the information and for damaging, for spoiling documents. In this update, they have to pay again $22,000 to the attorney fees. I mean, if Watchtower is willing to pay this much money, I'm sorry, but I have to say this again. I think that they are hiding very important names on this list, or they are protecting very important people when it comes to CSA issues. Watchtower wants to hide behind their money. Millions of dollars that are being donated by average Jehovah's Witnesses, and they don't even know that this money is being used to lie. How many times have they even admitted this in their publications, that during theocratic warfare, you would have to essentially lie on behalf of Jehovah? It doesn't make any sense when they also claim that Satan is the father of the lie, right? And that they have the truth. I just saw a few minutes of Alt-Worldly's video when it comes to theocratic warfare, and I think that's a really good video for everybody to watch. He just posted it, and it is so true. When it comes to these types of things, Watchtower wants to be playing these games, but it goes against everything that we believe in as Jehovah's Witnesses. As a Jehovah's Witness, this behavior would go against my standard, because as a Jehovah's Witness, I wouldn't be living my life like this. I wouldn't be treating people like this, especially in a court case. If I'm being accused of something, I would be truthful, and I would be honest, and I would be transparent, and I would always tell the truth no matter what. And now, viewing the organization doing the complete opposite. If I was a Jehovah's Witness, these are the facts that would continue to awaken me to the fact that they are not truthful. They are lying all the time. And it's very sad that they would rather pay money than to tell the truth, than to protect children, rather than to give these survivors the justice and the validation that they need. They obviously have a case. This is going to trial in August and September of 2024. We need to keep our eyes peeled on what's going to happen in this trial, because this will set another precedent of Watchtower being forced to do something that they really don't want to do. And I'm going to include this judge. I have her on my thumbnail, but I'm going to include a picture of her because this judge is amazing. And I'm so happy. Deep down inside, I'm so happy that she's a woman, because I could only imagine how the brothers in the legal department or the service department are coming back to this case and having to answer to a woman. That's amazing. I could only imagine how angry they are when they are having to be forced to provide this information or trying to look for loopholes to go around this. It makes it so much better that Judge Waters is a female and that they will have to be answering to a woman. I think that karma is real. I think that it is the best, because Watchtower is really getting their behind handed to them. They are going to be forced sooner or later to define the language, definitively say which department handles what. And for anyone who is still a Jehovah's Witness watching this, I think that you should really take this into consideration the next time you donate. Think twice before you give money to an organization that is fighting in court currently, 2024, to hide documents and not be transparent when it comes to CSA issues. This was the #1 issue for me as a very young mother, never to bring my children to a kingdom home ever again. It woke me up. They would rather hide pedophiles than to give up the information when these cases come to court. And so that's why I make these videos. That's why I'm following this case. And so I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.